This is where we hold them! This is where we fight!
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.
Folks, how we doing tonight? What's good, homies? I'm rolling solo. Is this working? Somebody in the chat has to tell me this working because I am not the technical director of this show. That's Rob, and I didn't even know how to start this broadcast tonight, so I had to text Rob and get directions. Am I good? Am I coming through? You all hear me? Okay, good, perfect. What's up, everybody? How we doing? Good evening. We got the merch on. Let me get it out of the way early. We got the merch on, okay? Rob, I want to get my plug in early, all right? I don't want Rob to be upset at me. Okay, he's probably tuning in at some point to this. Got the merch on. I actually walked my ass out to my mailbox right before the show started to retrieve my shirt from the mail at Rob's request. So check out our Etsy store if you want a shirt. I have to say the shirt, it's quality material. It's a little clingy. It's a little clingy for the big guys. I'll say that. Definitely a size up if you're a big guy. But yeah, nice shirts. I like the quality. I like how the logo came out. So if you want a shirt, check out our Etsy store. We got that all set up for you guys. And if you have a shirt idea, reach out to Rob and we can probably make that happen for you. What's up, everybody? Good evening. Thank you for joining us. As always, we appreciate our community here. We were going to cancel this week. I'm not going to lie to the people. We were going to cancel because Rob is on his way to Vegas right now. Okay. He can't come out here. He can't come out here to watch our boy bowl for 100 G's. Can't do that. But he's flying to Vegas for a long weekend, for a boys' weekend. I feel you. Okay. Shows you maybe where Sweep the Rack community ranks in Rob's pecking order. That's all right. We'll forgive him this time. But we were going to cancel because Rob couldn't be here. And I said, you know what? Let me see what I can put together for the people because there's quite a few things to talk about this week, and we've been on fire lately. And I figured, you know what, let's keep the ball rolling. So I have a couple special guests that are going to pop in throughout the show and help me host tonight, and hopefully entertain the people a little bit. And we'll see what we can do here. It's, some parts of the show we'll follow through with, some parts we won't. I'm not planning on doing worst of the week this week. That's something I will only do with Rob. It's our thing. So not gonna have a worst of the week for you at the end of the show this week. But we will have some of our normal lineup. So let's get into it. I'm gonna bring our first co-host on, guest co-host. None of you are gonna be surprised. Okay, so first guest co-host. Friend of the show, best friend of the show, our guy, Bill O'Neill is in the building. What's up, Hoss?
I'm back.
He's back again.
It's been a long time. I haven't been back on the show. I haven't been on the show since I don't even know when. I think I was driving out one time to last tour season, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely been a while.
It's been a while. It's been over a year.
Yeah, we have. I mean, I don't know why. It's not like conscious decisions that Rob and I make, or like even plans we have for the show. But I would say that over the course of the last year and a half, we've kind of gotten away from the interview format, and we're more analyzing what's going on out there rather than doing interviews and stuff. I mean, when we first started this, that was our main thing, was doing the interviews. And, we did some amazing interviews with a lot of interesting people in the community. And not to say that we haven't brought people on. We had Carol and Doran Ballard on not too long ago. We had Kevin McCune on after he won the players. So, not to say that we've completely gotten away from that, but yeah, I feel like we've definitely been doing more of the analyzation stuff because we had a lot of people on, and quite frankly, like we know you guys are busy. We're busy, like it's kind of a bother to a point to reach out to people and ask them to carve out time to come on our little podcast here. So we've gotten away from that a little bit. I will say also that Bowling with the Fef, okay, I talk about it on here a lot. Bowling with the Fef, he kind of took over the interview in the bowling game, right? He that's his thing, and he's very good at it. I'll also say that Beef and Barnsey, no Patch Pirates in the paddock. Patch Pirates on the podcast, but no Patch Pirates in the paddock. You feel me, Stu? Okay, but they also kind of stole our thunder in that regard because when somebody wins or does something in the bowling community, they reach out to them. Boom, they're on their show. And like, no one wants to hear from people secondhand. No one wants to hear from the person on the second podcast. They want to hear from on the first podcast. So, and yeah, we don't have the, I mean, obviously, if a bowler has to choose between Beef and Barnsey and Sweep the Rack, even though this is the fans podcast, obviously there's a stronger connection over there. So, yeah, we've gotten away from doing that a little bit, but when I knew that Rob wasn't going to be here and I wanted to do a show, I'm not going to lie to you. You're my first choice, Hoss. I mean, you know that. But you were the last person I reached out to. But that's only because I know how busy you are. And Rob was encouraging me to reach out to you and like, oh, hit up Bill. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm going to hit up everybody I can before I hit up Bill. So I hit up Dave. Dave was like, nah, I can't do it. I got something going on.
Hey, he's in the chat. He's in the chat right now.
I know. I'm questioning.
Is he at the Gold's Gym right now, and he's just chatting and watching him?
Perhaps. So he's probably got a school thing going on. So he's probably just sitting somewhere on his phone, getting paid for perusing our podcast here. Good for him, though. I hit up Jeff Butler. He was not available. I hit up some of my college guys. Dan Dunleavy, Matt Sherman. Matt Sherman tells me he's going to a country concert tonight. I said,
Matt
what?
Sherman?
Yeah, a country concert, son. I said, son, you went to college in Jersey City. A country concert? What? So blew my mind on that one.
Listen, can I just cut you off right now?
Go right ahead.
Stop telling me about all the people that came before me. Next thing I know, you're gonna start naming names of people I never heard of that told you no, and then
I got down to it, and I told Rob, I said, all right, listen, we got nobody left. I'm gonna reach out to Bill and see if he's willing. And I started my text to you by saying, I know you're probably busy, and the answer is no, but we don't have a co-host for Thursday. If you want to come on, but it did work out. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you can make it. It's always fun to chop it up with you, especially about bowling related things.
Thank goodness for Canadian wildfires and smoke. So Gavin didn't have any baseball tonight. So listen, if there's any good that can come out of a massive natural disaster, then it's me doing this podcast.
Everything's canceled, son.
Yeah,
Everything's canceled, son. Okay, like just shut it all down. Why? I mean, it's kind of wild. It was kind of wild the other day when I walked outside and it smelled like smoke and it was darker than it normally is. And I kind of knew the reason because I had read some stuff online about these Canadian fires, but Lisa had not. Lisa's my wife, by the way, if you folks don't know. And she came in and was like, yo, something has to be on fire close to here because it's really smoky outside. I said, no, it's actually a wildfire in Canada.
It's in Quebec, actually.
Yeah, that's where all this smoke is from. And she was just blown away by that. But yeah, pretty crazy, man. I mean, just another crazy occurrence in our experience here. Yeah. Wildfires canceling everything on the East Coast. If you're not aware, if you're not on the East Coast, it's like, how would you describe it? It's almost like being at a bonfire when it was really bad yesterday.
I was sitting, we heard about what was happening. Air quality's going to get worse, and the smoke's coming down this way. We're like, okay, you didn't really think anything of it. You can see it kind of getting looking like a little foggier outside. Like, okay. And then I was sitting there last night. I'm watching the Phillies game. I'm just sitting there, and they're like, on the broadcast, like, yeah, you can start to smell it now. I go, get out of here. And so I'm like, I got to walk outside. So as soon as I open the door, it hit me. Like, whoa. That's crazy. You can I'm thinking of something like that is possible for like smoke to travel that far and just like create that much of a haze and the smell coming out. It's wild.
It's remarkable. But yeah, if you're not on the East Coast, we're dealing with some things over here in the Northeast. So we'll make it through. We're all right, but yeah, it's a little hazy over here for the time being. All right, so Bill, we have a kind of a weekly format we do here, and part of that weekly format is my league review. So I'm gonna do my league review with you here. Wait. I'm running a huge risk by doing this league review with him here, but I'm gonna do it anyway. All right, so last night I bowled. I'm bowling in a PBA Sport League for the summer. It's 4 games per week.
This is not a house shot?
Not a house shot.
I don't surprised by that. But okay.
Yeah, I don't bowl on house shots. So 4 games, 6 on a pair. Last night I only had 5 on a pair. Bless up. Oh my God. 5. What a difference. I was out by last week. I didn't get home in my driveway until midnight, and I was panicking because that is like 3.5 hours past my bedtime. Okay.
Yeah.
This week I was home and in bed by 11:20, which was okay. I was all right with that. But 6 on a pair. I had 5 on my pair this week. The format is you bowl with the same 6 people all night. Okay, all 4 games. And each game is basically a ranked match where high score gets 5 points, next is 4, next is 3, next is 2, 1, 0. Do the same thing for series. We switch pairs after 2 games, okay? Last night we were bowling on the 36-foot Dell Ballard pattern, okay? So first, let me say this. I'm not even going to talk about how I bowled first. I'll tell you how I bowled in a minute. 660 for the first 3, by the way. But before I bowled, I put out on Twitter, hey, bowling on the Ballard pattern tonight. Never bowled on it before. Anybody who's got advice for me, let me know. Now, Ronnie Russell, I don't know him real well, but he strikes me as somewhat of a smart ass with his responses on Twitter to me. Because last week when I asked about the Harry Smith pattern, he said he got back to me on Twitter and said, Hoss, it's just urethane up 8. It's the same everything, just urethane up 8, okay? And then this week, I said, oh, Ballard pattern, anybody want to help me out? I said, I already know what Ronnie Russell's going to say. And he said, nope, I got something different for you, urethane up 6, okay? So I actually did use urethane, so he was right. It seems like he's always right about that. Not a huge surprise if you watch professional bowling these days. So here's my thought. I text Stu Williams, and I was like, Stu, here's the rundown of balls I got right now. Here's what I'm bowling on tonight. I need to have a decent night. Give me an idea of what I should be doing. So he said, okay, start with urethane out. If the gutter hooks, you should be good there for a game, maybe 2. Then you're going to want to switch to one of these 2 balls, move in, make a big move left. Listen, if I had a ball rep like you guys do, okay, if I had somebody consistently telling me what to use and kind of how to play them, I could be out there winning titles, bro.
Dude, I've always thought your physical game was like David Ozio, where you were just like, it was just like, if you could pick anybody to bowl, it was you, So I believe it. Yeah. I mean, listen, first of all, Stu's full of shit. Anybody who tells you how to play a pattern based off of the name, just the name of the pattern, is a liar.
No, he asked me some questions. He did. There was information exchanged back and forth. Where are you bowling? What kind of surface? How old's the house? Kind of giving them a general impression.
All right.
I mean, it happens to be the highest scoring house in New Jersey that I'm bowling this league in too. So,
Yeah, you conveniently left that out.
Yeah, take that for what it's worth. But no, so I did bowl well. I started out game 1. 237. I almost swept. I was 1 point shy of sweeping the pair. So I had the high game 3 out of the 4 games, and I had the high series on the pair. First game I shot 237, and I missed a makeable in that game, so it easily could have been 248. Then I shot 212 the second game, missed 2 makeables in that game. 217 the third game, missed another makeable in that game. had to switch balls in that game. I went from using a purple hammer playing out to a pinup Venom Shock, and I moved somewhat left, and I probably should have moved further left. Like Stu texted me today and asked me, "Hey, how did it work out?" I told him you were right on. I was slow making the move far enough left. I should have been further left when I made that initial move. So the last game, I kind of struggled a bit because, again, I didn't get far enough left, and I shot 170 the last game. So 830 for 4, I'll take it, especially because I had a bad week the week before. I didn't bowl very well. I needed a good week. I didn't even think I was going to be able to make it last night, but again, because of the smoke, my daughter's chorus performance got canceled, so I was able to make it at the last minute. And yeah, it turned out to be a good night. I won the card game 2. There's a card game 2 and 4. That was worth, I think, $160 for the card game win, which was nice. I finished
$160 card game.
Yeah, $160 card game. Yeah.
Hold on. I always see you tweeting about missed makeables.
Bro,
what do you consider make? Are you missing? Is it all single pins? Do you consider like the 3, 6, 9, 10 a makeable?
No,
the washout.
No, I'm
talking. What do you consider that?
Washout. The washout.
I'm just asking. I got to figure out how hard I got to come down in here.
For you. It might be a makeable for you. I feel like the 210 is a makeable for you.
Actually, I have a fun fact about the 210. If you want me to.
Go ahead.
I didn't make one all season.
Get out of here!
I swear to God.
That can't be true.
I swear to God. I swear. Okay, I am lying. I made one, but I bounced it out.
Okay.
And it was towards the end of the year. I swear, no matter what I did, I hit just this much too much in the 2-pin. Unbelievable. And after, I remember I was telling Mike Wolf this, and I think it was probably either at the World Series or the Players. It was one of the later events. And I told him I hadn't made the 210 all year. And then in that same block, I made the 4-9 twice. In the same block. So I made 210 all year. I made the 4-9 twice. I made the 410 at the Players. You were there. Was the 410 or the 6-7? Whatever. One of those. Either way, harder than the 210.
Yeah.
I tried lining up different. My eyes moving all, but I couldn't make it.
That's amazing because like over the years of watching you bowl, when you leave a 210, I'm always like, oh yeah, he's going to make this. I've almost come to look at it as a makeable for you, and I mean that. So it's really surprising, but it's interesting.
Crazy. Yeah,
it's interesting how like sometimes the stats don't match up with what you actually think is going on, right? And I love that on Bowl TV they talk a lot of lane talk. They do. They use the stats that are going on out there, and they have the guys from Lane Talk in the booth a lot, where they give you that inside information about what statistically is going on out there. And it's interesting because sometimes it matches up with what you're seeing, but other times it doesn't match up with the perception of what you're seeing. So yeah, to me, that would definitely be an example of that. Like I would imagine, yeah, you're 80% on 210s and you didn't make one all season except for one. No. So yeah, listen, my spare shooting, Hoss, I said last night to one of the guys bowling with me, like the most impressive thing to me about guys at your level that are bowling on tour is that guys will go a whole week and not miss a makeable spare or a single pin. And like, I can't even get through a game sometimes, it feels like, without missing a makeable spare. So to hear somebody bowled 40-some, 50-some games in a week and didn't miss a makeable spare, didn't miss a single pin is just remarkable to me. I mean, that at this point, that seems harder to me than whacking them and shooting 240 or 250. And I know, again, that's probably not reality because to you guys, that's just you're only keeping up with the field if you're making your spares, right? You're certainly not gaining any ground.
It depends. Some guys are not. There's some guys that strike a lot that I'll look at, I'll see a show and it'll pop up like, oh, so and so missed. It's 4 10-pins this week, and I'm like 4 10-pins. That's like I don't have the ability to miss 4 10-pins and like still make a show anymore. There's just I can't strike that much, and so like that's crazy like that to miss that many. But so like there was a while we used to he's a much better spare shooter now, but Jesper like a few years ago was making shows, and we'd laugh because he'd be like, well, there's another 11 strike 267 for Jesper, because he would just get on a roll and he would have the front six and he missed the seventh pin and he'd strike out. And some guys can do that.
Yeah, I'm not one of them. Not bowling on something tough.
Judging by your tweets, I can see
that. But yeah, horrendous. I mean,
do you miss them all in the same direction, or are they?
No, they're all over. And now I'm so shook that I actually started hooking at some left side spares on the tough shit, which is just a disaster. Like I flagged a 4-7 last night by 2 arrows trying to hook at it, because I was playing way right and the gutter was hooking and I left the 4-7 and I was using a Venom shock, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to move in a little bit and just lay it in the middle of the lane, and the lane's just going to take it. And it just hit some carry down and the ball went straight down the lane and it never hooked.
Well, that's why you don't hook at spares.
I know. Because, I mean, but I was just
I stand in the same spot and look at the same spot on every spare I shoot for every pattern, because I know it's going to go straight. So it's just there's no thinking.
I'm convinced that I got to go back to plastic, because I went to urethane with spares for a minute because my plastic ball didn't have a good feel. And when I made that switch, I actually started out really hot with my spare shooting with the urethane ball. But now that has completely changed, and I feel like...
Well, that's why I asked you if you miss them in a certain direction, because I used to use plastic for a long time, and all of my missed spares, generally, not all, but I would say 80% of the time I miss the spares to the right. And so then when we started using urethane a lot more, I'm like, you know what? Let me just stick with this urethane ball, because at least if I miss a little right, it's got a chance to pick up.
Right.
And so that's why I started using urethane. And so that's why I wanted to know what you were doing, because if it was, if you were missing them all left, then I would say use plastic, and if you're missing them mostly to the right, then use something that picks up a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, like spares, I feel like are trial and error. So like when you go and practice, move around, move your feet a little bit, move your eyes a little bit, left to right, front and back, and just like see what clicks. And because that's something I was struggling a lot with the 3-6-10. And so like I couldn't, no matter what I did, I didn't feel like if I got it a little bit left, it felt like it was chopping every time, and a little bit right, it was like right at the six pin. It never felt, I didn't feel like I was missing by as much as was showing down the lane. So I started moving my eyes further down the lane and looking at the same spot, but just probably 10 feet further down the lane. And so it didn't, when I moved my eyes right, it didn't like exaggerate it down the lane, and it worked perfect. It's probably the best year I've had shooting the 3-6-10 in a long time.
It's good advice again. Yeah, I need to take a trip to the training center, and I need to shoot some left side spares, particularly some 4-7s, some 4 pins, some 7 pins, and you're right, just tinker around and kind of figure out what works for me. But yeah, that's my league report from last night. I bowled all right. I finished second in the eliminator as well. I got $30 back for that. So yeah,
hard to win the eliminator with 166.
Oh, it was terrible. No, it was game 3. It ended.
Oh, okay.
Game 3 it ended, so I was 2-teen, but oh man, I'm gonna butcher his last name, so I don't even want to say his last name. Will Vidulich, I think is how you pronounce it, and Lou Gaudio. Lou was subbing last night. Will's a regular bowler in the league. 2 regional guys, and yeah, they whacked them. Will went like 279 the first 2, I think, and then maybe 230 the third game. And I know Lou tied me, I believe, in the third game, so we tied for second. So I only got $30 back there. But yeah, listen.
But you hit that card game.
I did. I hit the card game. I made a little bit of money, which is fine. And listen, it was a good night.
What did you hit what did you hit? What was the
10s over 5s. 10s over 5s.
Okay.
I had 9 cards, and all but one was a spade, or was a club as well, which I found amazing. I pulled 9 straight clubs in a row, or 8 straight clubs in a row, and then my last card was a 7 of diamonds. But yeah, I had 10s over 5s, and I had a kid tell me that he snapped me off with kings over 9s. But it turned out he had 9s over kings, and he didn't know that it mattered what which part of the full house was higher. So I snuck that one out with 10s over 5. So yeah,
listen, I've played I've played poker with you before, so 10-5 is a hand that you would play. So
I've been playing better poker. It's one of the things I'm looking forward to with summer coming. I can't wait to get some time in at the card table. I haven't been able to much.
You're not shocked when you lose with ace-5 anymore?
No, not anymore. Actually,
not anymore.
I don't know if I told you or not. I went to Parks on Super Bowl Sunday, and I had my best poker session ever. I mean, it was amazing. I hit a high hand. I sat down, 7-7, flop comes 7-7. I'm like, what a brand new table. And I get it all in with a guy with 4 of a kind on the flop. I'm thinking, what is going on here? I was looking around. Waiting for somebody to walk in and assassinate me. I thought it was a joke. But yeah, I've actually been playing some pretty good poker lately, so I'm looking forward to that. Our guys here. I think he's on a plane. He just wanted to make sure that I'm promoting. I promoted the shirts, Rob. I told him go to our Etsy store if they want a shirt. So we took care of that very early, my man. They do look good though. Shout to Rob for putting that together. All right, enough bullshitting. Enough leg review. Let's talk some real bowling. You went out to the USBCs. You bowled with riding Kenny's coattails. Give us a rundown of what who the guys were on the team again.
Yeah, so Jeff Fair, Ken Abner, Charles Easton, and R.J. Pollard. Jeff and Kenny, I bowled with a long time ago when I was in college. We used to bowl World Team Challenges together.
Okay.
I don't even know if how many people watch this even know what the World Team Challenge is anymore. It's been gone for so long.
No, our fans know what the World Team Challenge is.
So we used to bowl them back in the day, and then when I was able to start bowling nationals again when they changed the rule, Jeff reached out and they actually, funny enough, they kicked Mike Wolf off the team and asked me if I would bowl. And Jeff sent me a screenshot of the of the live scoring the year, and Wolf threw 2 gutter balls in the first game, and he sent me a screenshot. He's like, "Well, you want to bowl next year?"
Oh, geez. Oh my goodness. Abner, PBA titleist or no?
No.
Bowled on tour for a little bit though.
Jeff did.
Abner didn't go?
I don't know. I don't know if Kenny did or not.
He might have.
Before, it was before me if he did, and Jeff bowled before me too a little bit.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I definitely if not, then maybe like he made several runs in some majors like US Opens or Masters or something. Yeah, because I definitely recognize Abner's name. Jeff Fair, obviously, we've known his name for quite a while, just from college bowling and sort of the junior circuit as well. But the guy Easton, you said, yes?
Yeah.
I heard, I don't know if this is correct or not, but I heard that he had the highest house league average in the country last year or something. Is this the case?
That is. Yeah, he was telling me about it when we were out there. Yeah, he when his ball starts striking, it strikes. And he did it at Nationals.
That's wild.
He bowled 568 the first 2 games a team. He just had it going, and his ball his ball just faces up the right when it gets going. It just faces up the right way, and he gets those half pocket mixers, and so I believe it.
It's crazy. That's crazy. All right, so here's what I want to ask. So like you guys whacked them. You weren't high on your team. You know, I think totals you were 3rd on your team out of the 5.
Yeah.
Why is it like my expectation of having guys at your level go out and bowl a tournament like the USBCs is that everybody's just going to maul them every time they go out, right? And then you see some of these teams who are bowling with Titleist professional bowlers. I mean, the team that just whacked them, K&J Finishing, Nick Pate was on that team, but he wasn't one of the guys that absolutely crushed them for them. Your team absolutely crushed them, shot the 2nd highest series ever, but you weren't one of the high guys on the team. Like, I guess my 2 questions, like, why is that the case? Like, you know, I would believe that a lot of people have the same perspective that I do, where it's like, oh, somebody like Bill O'Neill or a Nick Pate or a Kyle Troop is going out to nationals. They're just going to absolutely maul them. Why is that not always the case? And secondly, what is it like for you? Because there's probably an expectation from the guys on your team too that like, oh, we got Bill O'Neill, he's going to maul them, and then they're crushing them, and you're not, or they're outpacing you. So what's that dynamic like a little bit?
So there's a lot of reasons for the reasons why we don't like just go out there and kill them. One being it's a sprint, so it's only 9 games, 2 different patterns, and most of the time our advantage comes from the fact that we're a lot smarter than the people who don't bowl as much because we see everything and we do it over and over again. So a lot of our advantage comes from the fact that the way we process information and the way we read the lane, and so that if we got going and we bowled that event instead of bowling 9 games, we bowled 27, and we did that same event 3 times. We would probably come out on top more often than not, just because we see it more, we understand the ball motion, and just over time we're going to get there. And so when it's the quick sprints like that, that's why you don't see us just go out there and we're the top 10 of the whole tournament. That combined with the fact that it's a totally different lane machine and lane patterns than we're bowling on. And so retraining our brains and our instinct that quickly takes a little bit of time too. Like I think EJ bowled like 530 something in the doubles out there. They were a little flatter than the team event. And like just the way that when we see something when they're a little flatter like that, they played way different than what they look like on the tour.
So you're referring to kind of what you would expect to happen or what your moves are going to be, perhaps what ball changes are going to be, might be different in that environment than what you guys are used to seeing.
Yeah, like for me, like I in the team event, I switched from I tried to use too strong of a ball the first half of the first game, and I bowled terrible too, and I was throwing all over the place. And when I switched to a Black Widow 2.0 hybrid, which kind of made sense to me because I was using a bigger ball. I went to something that was a lot cleaner, but still had a strong core, but it was still too much. And then once I went to a GB4 hybrid, that was the ball. But that's the ball I should have been using probably from the beginning. But we never ever use a ball that's that quick with a symmetric core like that early in a block. It just doesn't really happen that often. And so just trying to convince myself, and with 10 minutes of practice with 10 on a pair, you just don't get that much time.
See, what's it like, right? I mean, when I go to a PBA event and I see you guys get on a practice pair before you actually start practice so that when you start practice, you're warm, I think, man, that's got to be a nice perk of bowling out here because, yeah, you go to a tournament.
That only happens in the later round. That only happens at the end of the tournament.
Okay.
So in the qualifying, it ain't like that because there's no lanes.
But how long's the practice session for the PBA in a regular tournament?
It's gotten less. So now it's 2.5 minutes per person.
Per person on the pair. Okay. All right, that makes sense. All right, no doubt. So what's the dynamic like when, a bowler like yourself, who your teammates have to be looking at you as sort of the ringer that they're bringing in? What's that dynamic like when you go out and you're perhaps not whacking them, but other guys on your team are?
So for us, it might be a little different just because I've known those guys for so long. And, I don't know. I was struggling and they were killing them. So there was more like, hey, I know I'm going to get it going here at some point. You guys keep striking. Like we're going to be good. And I don't know. It's just, it kind of happens pretty quickly. So you don't really have time to not like sitting there thinking like, oh my God, I'm letting the team down or anything like that. Cause if we bowl enough and we bowl enough years together, there's going to be years where I bowl good sets and some years where I bowl mediocre sets and some of the other guys, it's all going to happen. And, you just have to, just this year, we just happened to put it all together. And, with RJ and I struggled the first 2 games and then, the last game we bowled like 5-15 between the 2 of us. So it was like a pretty good team effort in that way.
Okay. All right. No doubt. Interesting. Scores have been high. I mean, people have been whacking them left and right out there. Every time you go on social media, it seems like there's a new high score, somebody else whacking them. How do you guys feel? Do you think your score is going to hold?
I mean, I think so. It's a pretty big number. I mean, almost bowling, we almost bowled 3,600. So it's a pretty big number. 'Cause you don't really have a lot of wiggle room for anything to go wrong. And so I think it has a pretty good shot. Now the scores are definitely higher in the team event than they are in singles doubles. They're a little bit easier in the team event, where the singles and doubles, where that, like, why that pattern is, I think it's a good pattern. It's cool. Is that, like, what it does is you either have to use urethane to start, which, like, I tried to use urethane, but my urethane ball hooked too much, and so I had to get out of it. I couldn't keep it on the right side of the head pin. But then you have to move, like, where you have to move to is probably a little bit too far left than where you want to play, because you're bowling all 6 games in the same pair. So, like, it is kind of like a catch-22, where you got to kind of figure out, what do you want to do? Do you want to try to get your score in games 2, 3, 4, and then maybe you have to grind if you're on a pair with 4 guys who have a decent rev rate, you may run out of room towards the end. Which kind of happened to us a little bit in the last game of the singles. We slowed down a little bit because they started to get a little bit trickier, and the front started to really, really hook.
And that was a result of you guys using urethane earlier?
No, it's because we actually got out of it pretty quickly, and by game 2 we were all out of it. And we were all hooking it.
And you had all moved left earlier.
Yeah, because there was, like, on the pairs we were on, we couldn't play straighter to the right. We were kind of more towards the higher end. We were in, like, 50, lane 53, where you saw like Crummel and those guys, they bowled down towards the lower end. And so, from what I understand, just from the all the years I bowled in Reno, those pairs down there, they're a little better. They hook a little more to the right. And same thing with, like, the Bowler's Journal we bowled on. They hook a little bit more. So when you play with urethane, like, you can get a little bit closer to it, because the ball actually hooked when you hit like 5, 6, where we were bowling, like, it didn't hook off of there. And so then you try to square up, and it would go high. So Kenny used urethane for a game, and I think Charles used urethane for a game, and then we kind of all got out of it.
Okay. Interesting. You bringing up you bringing up the idea of some pairs playing differently than others. Brought you on tonight. Great transition, Hoss.
It's perfect.
That was a perfect setup. So
I can't believe it took 38 minutes for us to get here, but we're here.
I know. I'm gonna get you out of here with this. And don't say something that's gonna get you fined or get you in trouble in some way, please, because I don't need any more of that. But as the whole bowling world knows at this point, okay, USBC Queens, questionable pair. Grand Rapids Classic happens again, questionable pair. USBC comes out, says topography. No one believes it's topography. We talked about it on here. We called it out as BS. And then this week, Kegel comes out and, announces that there was a malfunction with the machine. USBC then, after fining people, and we don't know if those fines have been rescinded. We didn't get word on that. But USBC decides they're going to give, I think, $500 to anybody that hit those pairs and did not cash in the event. So, I just want to hear your thoughts. I go wherever you want with it. What do you think about the issue, the solution? Have you ever seen anything like that? Wherever you want to go with it.
Yeah. So I'm not super well read on this. I don't want Chad texting me that I got facts wrong, and I don't want anybody writing blogs about try to destroy my character because I said something. I just my opinion from all the way over here. I just watched a little bit of it, saw a couple of video clips. That's all I did here. So just from the looks of it, when I saw it, I'm like, wow, it's not topography, obviously. Like, you're looking at it and you're going, that person just, the left-handed person just picked the 10 pin off, and Gigi's using plastic. So obviously it's not topography because one's on one side of the lane and one's on the other. And if it was topography, they would have. There's a million reasons why it was topography. They would have seen it in the practice session. They would have seen it, and like I would think that like league bowlers there would have been like, hey, lane 38 and 41 are kind of screwed up.
Oh, that's a wacky pair over there.
We're picking the corner pins off over here during league. You know, like that seems kind of like no one ever been going to Sandstown. That's lane 41 of your left hander and ball just hooks right in the gutter. So you know, obviously something was screwed up, and I think that, you know, to me it looked like the problem was just, I don't know. It's okay to say something's screwed up. No, I mean, can't you just say like, hey, we had a malfunction. Something's goofy here.
We'll get to the bottom of it.
I'm not a tournament director. I don't know logistically how they would have done that at that time, in that split second of an instance, if they could have rerun the lanes, if they could have started the squad over again. I don't know what that does to anything. Like, you know, if you can't just like, we're going to restart the day because it's not fair to the people who would have bowled a couple good games somewhere else in the building. Now they got to start over. I don't know. There's a lot going on there, and it's a problem really with no solution in that moment. I don't really know what you do. I'm glad I don't run tournaments because I don't want to make those decisions. But it was obvious. I mean, to me, it was pretty obvious that there was something going on with the lanes there, and it certainly wasn't topography.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it was hard. It was hard.
Honestly, I don't remember that ever happening in any tournament that I bowled. And honestly, that's pretty remarkable that it's been this long. And this is like the first time we've seen something like that really happen, when it's like, it could even just be something as simple as like human error, where somebody was just, before they had the lane, you know, the machines that were doing it by themselves, like just somebody doing the lanes and they just forgot to do one, you know, like that seems like something that would have happened a lot before this happened. Just something on the human error side, but
it says a lot for bowling alley.
I don't know.
It says a lot for bowling alley mechanics that it didn't happen more often. You know, seriously, so that's a huge check in their column.
I mean, listen, Mike, except for that time we bowled that youth event, the Teen Masters, where they oiled into the pins, except for that one.
But that was every lane though.
That was every lane, yeah.
That was every.
And they kept it going. They had a lane malfunction. They just said, "Screw it, run the rest of the tournament like that."
Yeah, we're doing it anyway. That was a good event. All right, quickly before I get you out of here, I have you here. You haven't been on in a year. We're going back a couple appearances, but we're both big fans of The Wire. So if you don't watch The Wire, you could tune us out for the next 5 minutes or so. And at one point on this podcast, we did a breakdown of PBA bowlers to Wire characters. Okay. And since I have you back, I told you we have to update it. We have to update our rundown, because the last time we did it, you know, the pecking order of the PBA was somewhat different. So here are the guys we're going to do. We're going to do Tackett, Simonson, Belmo, you, and Packy Hanrahan. And we're going to do a quick rundown of who you and I both think these bowlers compare to right now, career-wise, bowling-wise, where they're at, to the characters on The Wire, okay? So, again, if you haven't watched The Wire...
you know what? I haven't seen The Wire in a long time, so I might need it. And I got to go back and rewatch so I can get... But I know... Well, Anthony, I know for sure who I got. But
that is such a rewatchable show too.
It is.
Like, it is.
It's aged very, very well.
It has. I'm honestly like watching it on a constant loop. Like, I've watched that series so many times. It's just it's crazy. And listen, if you've never watched the series The Wire, pause this podcast right now. Go binge it over the next few days and then come back to our podcast. All right. I start with EJ Tackett.
When you go back and watch the first season, though, as soon as you're like, wow, how old is the show? Like, it's not in HD. Like, this is crazy. I can't.
Yeah, they're using pagers still in the first season, right? I know. All right, we're gonna start with Tackett, just based off of the season that he had. To me, right now, Tackett is Omar. Tackett is Omar. Like. You see EJ Tackett coming, you better run the other way and just go hide whatever you got on you, because it's very likely he's going to take it from you, and he's going to take it from you without much of a challenge.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. I was going to say Avon, just because he's. But I guess that would be Belmo. I guess in this scenario, if he's Omar, then Belmo would have to be Avon, but I was thinking, hey, he's probably Avon because he's just running things right now.
See, now to me, Belmo, interesting, because Kingpin, yes, like the guy wearing the crown, yes, arguable, but there's these young guys. There's these young guys right now that are coming up on his heels that are constantly trying to get at him, and like you had the same thing in The Wire where you had the OG Kingpin, okay, but then you had these young guys who were constantly on their heels, and to me, the OG Kingpin in The Wire was Prop Joe. So I say this in the most respectful way about Belmo, but I'd have to say Prop Joe at this point because he's sort of the Kingpin who now has to in his more advanced stage of his career has to defend his spot as the Kingpin.
Now you like him because he's big. Is that why you like him?
Oh, I love Prop Joe's character.
Is that why he's Belmo?
Yeah, Prop Joe.
He's the big guy on the show.
He was just, R.I.P. Michael K. Williams, no doubt. I mean, one of the best characters ever.
Best characters of all time, yeah.
Yeah. All right. You said you had someone in mind for Simo already.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Marlo. He's Marlo.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. No question.
New guy on the block. Fiery. I'm taking what you got.
Yep. Shows up at the co-op meeting.
Does not care. Doesn't care about anything. This
shows up
now.
Shows up at the co-op meeting, tells everybody, "Shut up! I don't want to hear what you're talking about." Okay, kills the OG Kingpin. I mean, how fitting is that? Like, seriously, if anybody's going to take the reins from Belmo as the number one two-handed bowler out there, it's probably going to be him. So you have that dynamic too. But yeah, absolutely. All right, Packy Hanrahan, the new guy, right?
Yeah, I didn't do any prep work on this. So I'm doing
I didn't either. I'm going off the top here. I got it for you. I have it for you.
Go ahead.
He's Michael.
Okay.
He's Michael.
Yeah, but at the
end of the series.
Now, okay, but at the end of the series, he. So you think that EJ is Omar, Michael turned into Omar at the end of the series. You think Packy is the next EJ?
I think he's got the potential to be. Right? Out of all the young guys, really young guys out there, he's one guy I look at and saying, if anybody could rise to that, it might be him. And that's why I give him, because you don't know if Michael's actually going to be the next Omar. He's trying to be the next Omar. But
that's how the show ends.
Yeah, I know, but you got to develop that reputation.
That spoiled it for anybody who hasn't seen The Wire, even though it ended.
They ain't even going to pick up on your partner in the Eagle Hunt here. Jeff Fair comes in, and what are we talking about? We're talking about drug kingpin TV shows from the early 2000s. Sorry, Jeff. We already covered the USBC performance. Shout to you guys, great bowling. And obviously, we here at Sweep the Rack are hoping that you guys hold there. It would be a nice addition to Bill's cutout wall trophy case in his basement to have that USBC Eagle there. So that would be dope. All right, finally, we have to talk about where's your position in The Wire. Who are you right now? Where what character in The Wire most represents where you are in your career?
I gotta be what's his face? The boxing gym. What's his
Cuddy? Oh my goodness, that's so good. That's so good. I didn't even think about that. Yo, you're Cuddy. You're Cuddy. You're questioning, like, man, am I still cut out for this? Like, you're looking around. Yo, that's so good. You're looking around.
I got to open a business over here to try to make ends meet.
You're looking around at all the young bulls. Like, these young bulls are wild, son. Like, what is going on? I'm not prepared for these dudes out. Oh my God. So here's who I was gonna say, and this shows the love I have for you. I was gonna say that you're Slim Charles.
Okay, I'll take Slim Charles.
You're Slim Charles, son. Yeah. I'll explain why you're Slim Charles, because you've lasted the test of time. When everything is going down, when everything is said and done, and two-handed bowling taking over, and lanes changing, and the young bulls nipping at your heels, you're still here. You're still here. By your standard, by our standard, I don't even, you didn't have that great of a year this year per se, but like, you were still right there. You were still right out, right at the top 10, in terms of points and statistics and things of this nature. So I give you props to say that, yes, you're the Slim Charles of the PBA right now. So props to you, son. Keep it rolling.
It just reminded me of that. You ever see that tweet from the guy who's like, when he's like, you at 35, like, oh, I have my whole life ahead of me, and then the next is like a sports broadcaster. Here comes a 32-year-old. He's on his last legs. What a miracle! Like,
yeah.
I feel all right. Actually, I don't feel terrible. I wake up in the morning, I feel great, and here you are, like you're doing it. You're still doing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, the game has changed a lot since you've been out there. No, I mean, when I watch now, I almost feel like it's a different game that you guys are playing out there than it was when you were much earlier in your career.
So what do you think the biggest difference is?
I think that power, speed, and the ability to play unbelievable angles on the lane have become the most important factors in success out there. Whereas before, I think that you did not see that as much.
Didn't see what?
You didn't see those three things being the big three things you needed to be able to do to really have a lot of success out there.
Okay.
Like earlier in your career when they were bowling, for instance, like the exempt format, and you had the best of 7 matches. Like at times you would see them break down to where guys would be playing crazy angles or lofting them or whatever. But for the most part, it didn't come down to that. It kind of came down to how they broke down with those two people on the pair and the adjustments people were going to make, and maybe a ball choice versus another ball choice, or the choice to start out with something early in the match versus going to something different later. Now, yeah, I kind of feel like it's, if you don't have rev rate, loft, speed, and the ability to play some ridiculous angles, you're going to be hurting out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I think that it's the same thing that like happened in golf, where it would always have been advantageous to drive the ball 350 yards, always, if you could hit it straight. And so then, 30 years ago, if you hit 350 yards and you hit it dead straight, you'd have won every tournament.
Right.
But nobody could figure out how to hit it straight. Then all of a sudden, the guys who started to hit it a long way started to figure out how to hit it a little straighter. It's the same way in bowling. There was always guys that had a lot of rev rate.
500 rev rate, right.
None of them knew how to bowl. And
right.
Then
none of them knew how to repeat it accurately.
They didn't know what they were doing. And so now you have guys with that kind of rev rate that know how to bowl. So now they figured it out. They figured out how to, they got a couple different releases, a couple different speeds. The grip pressure, they changed a little bit. And then, which is 50% of it, and the other 50% of it is the urethane balls.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because when from 2008 to 15 or whatever, you didn't really use the urethane balls. So the guys with all that rev rate, even though they were accurate, they had a hard time the first couple games. And so you're trying to figure out how to get your ball to slow down the lane, and they had a hard time doing it. So that's what leveled the playing field so much, was that those guys always bowled. They always bowled a couple, under the first couple games until the lane settled down a little bit. When during the exempt tour, when it was 64 guys and it went to 32, and you would see the scores, if you knew guys like, say, Robert Smith or even like DJ Archer, if those guys were hanging around the number after 3 games, they were in. They were going to make it every time, because the last couple games they were going to get them. So they just knew if they could hang around the number, they were fine. Where now, a lot of these guys would all, a bunch of rev rate in 2 hands, they have it from the first ball they throw, because of the urethane. Then, as the urethane balls keep going down the lane, it makes it even better for them later too.
Right, when they move. Yeah.
When they move, now there's hold. Now that's the reason why the angle needs to get created, because of the
fronts are burned.
puddle, and the puddle gets created down the lane. So now you have to throw it to 5, because everybody used urethane playing 10. And so you got to throw it on the other side of it so the ball doesn't wiggle down the lane. And so that's where the rev rate then cuts through that if they do miss a little left. And that's where like people like me or people that have my type of rev rate, and I have the same rev rate I did when I came out, 420 RPMs, and exactly the same. And so it's not my rev rate going down. It's just that the environment changing and people revving more. So like then there are certain shots where I'll miss a little bit in and they just don't hook. And so that's where the rev rate comes into play. So I think it's a combination of the two.
No doubt. Yo, appreciate you coming on, bro, and doing the co-hosting thing with me. I'm gonna get you out of here.
I hope Rob's enjoying Vegas. I really hope it.
Yeah, me too. I hope he has a great time. I hope he whacks him out there.
Yeah, wax him. He's not bowling.
No, I mean like gambling.
Yeah. He ain't gambling. He's not gambling. He's gonna put a couple bucks on 11 on the roulette wheel, and that's it.
No doubt.
It's not, me and you were here. We're trying to hang. I'm in my basement, so I don't have to put my respirator mask on to go outside. Rob's in Vegas. It's fine.
Life is good, you know.
Yeah.
What do you got coming up?
I'm going to Bowl Expo in a couple weeks. Going to the League Bowling Championship thing in July, and then the Lucy at the end of the month. But yeah, taking it easy from bowling a little bit. You know, you're coming up. We're gonna hang out July 4th.
Yeah, no doubt. We got some plans. Absolutely. So, all right, yo, plug your people, man.
Yeah, Hammer Bowling, Vice Inserts, Bowlify. You know, been sponsoring me for a long time. Bowlify just came on board this year, and you know, making great jerseys and helping out my my USBC team with some jerseys this year. So
yeah, you guys look fresh out
really
there.
Happy. Kenny Abner designed jerseys.
Yeah, I liked it. It was fresh. I got to say though, shout to my guy Dan Dunleavy from my college team. He designed a jersey for his doubles. Him and his doubles partner, who both went to my college at the USBCs. It was so nice. I had to tell him, "Yo, order me one." It's so dope. When people see it, I told him he's going to start a trend. Somebody's going to take a picture and be like, "Yo, we got to do that next year," because I know there's a lot of guys who go out there and bowled together in college or on the same college team, and that the shirt kind of has something to do with that. So
I didn't know if it was like a picture of like a parlay card or something.
No, no, has more to do with our connection to the school. But yeah, good idea nonetheless. But yo, listen, thanks for coming, bro. Always good to chop it up. Always good to have you. And yeah, I'll see you outside of the bowling world in a few weeks. All right, brother. Later. All right, folks, stick around for a minute. We ain't done. I promised you multiple guest hosts. I got multiple guest hosts for you, okay? Because around here, you know, we always have plan A and plan B, contingency plan, okay? So not only did I ask my guy, Bill O'Neill, one of the best bowlers in the world, to come on and chop it up with us tonight, but I also, last night, he hadn't shown up to the first 2 weeks of our league, but last night I was pulling in the parking lot, and I joyously see my action sport bowling action doubles partner, none other than my guy Greg Tack. So not only did I give him a shout when I saw him, but I had to ask him while we were bowling, yo, listen, like, you want to come on tomorrow? I got some time on the show if you want to come in and chop it up for a bit on a few things. And Greg, what's good, man?
Have you figured out how to get the ball in the lane yet? Doubles partner? Shoot,
yeah,
I've been higher than a 170 in our matches.
So listen. Despite how bad I bowled in our matches, and can I tell you people something, like, this kid is a saint, okay? He literally deserves sainthood. There were a couple weeks where he nearly beat me by 100 in our doubles match, and we lost the game, and he's still willing to bowl with me, still treating me very nicely. So this guy is a saint. But listen, despite my poor bowling in the action portion of what we had going on, I ended up averaging over 200 for all the weeks that I bowled in that league. So I felt like I bowled pretty good in that league generally. Did not bowl good in the action. But yes, I've been throwing it pretty good lately. I'm actually somewhat frustrated because I haven't been able to get out to many events because it's sort of like dance season is starting to wrap up for my daughter. We actually have our last dance event of the of the year this weekend. I know you have an event going on this weekend. Yes. Why don't you plug that? What do you got going this weekend?
I have 3 events in the next 2 weeks. I have the Extreme Pattern weekend next weekend.
Yeah, see, that one I'm hoping to make. Actually, my plan for that one, I would love to come Saturday, bowl the one Extreme Pattern, hit AC for the night, Saturday night, and then come back to Turnersville on Sunday and bowl Sunday. Like, that would be an amazing weekend. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull that off, but I'm going to be able to see. So go ahead. You have the Extreme Pattern weekend. Break it down for everyone.
So it's 2 house shots. No, I'm kidding. One is really short, really light volume, and the other is really heavy volume, really long pattern.
He calls these, yes, the friction and the frictionless marathon. Okay, and they're on back-to-back days every year over a weekend. These are Brunswick, Bolero Turnersville, right? Which used to be Brunswick Cross Keys, I think was the former name of it back in the day. So frictionless and friction marathon over the weekend. That's next weekend. What do you got going on this weekend?
My long coach, Greg Rottingen, may he rest in peace. That's his tournament on Sunday. It's for the American Heart Association. So that's an event. Our goal this year is to cross the $20,000 mark in 5 years. We would need 4,000 to hit that. So if you are considering joining the tournament, it'd be much appreciated. If you want to bowl, if you want to come hang out, if you want to. So we have a fundraiser idea, and I don't know if it's going to work, but a lot of people have choice words for the tournament director when they come to these events. So our fundraiser is a swear jar.
Okay.
So the goal is to encourage good behavior. We'll be handing a lot of change in singles when people enter the tournament.
So do you catch a lot of shit from people?
I do. There are a lot of
Really?
people who have things to say, but they'll tell me it, and I'll just let it roll off. Like I don't. It doesn't bother me.
What's the most common comment or issue or problem that people bring to you?
People tell me really creative ways of how I should spend my time after the tournament, and they're usually not pleasant actions. I'm trying to PG it for your audience, even though
you don't have to be PG
adults.
here, but why are they coming to you with that? Like, what do you think happens at your event that they feel the need to come and address you in that manner?
It is all the difficulty of the pattern, and I have a streak going where if someone tells me that they've got me figured out, or they have the shot figured out, or they have my tournaments figured out, the very next tournament after they say that, they usually bowl pretty poorly. It's like a curse phrase, and then they go like -2 or 300, like it's pretty bad, and then they'll be amongst the mix of the choice words that they have to say. So it's usually difficulty of pattern. I had one guy who I was taking care of something, and he was screaming at me over a $10 refund that he was owed that I had just informed him about, and I think he probably screamed at me for a solid 5 minutes. I said, "Sir, I'll get you your refund. If you need to go somewhere, I can send it virtually." That was the only other time I could think of where someone really gave me a hard time, and it was a $10 refund. The bowler came back amazingly, and I actually addressed it with him. I said, "Why are you here?" He said, "No one else is going to give me an ass kicking like you are, Greg." So he was back.
So you definitely feel though that in a lot of those instances, it's because people come to your events, they struggle, they bowl bad, they get frustrated, they kind of take their frustrations out towards you.
That's exactly it, and that's why it doesn't bother me too much, because.
Well, I mean, to me, that speaks more to the unpreparedness of the bowling community than it does to anything that you're doing or not doing. But all right, let's. So you have a fundraiser event this weekend. Let me ask this: if we're not bowling in the event, is there a way to donate to the event, even if we're not bowling? Okay, where can we get that info?
You can donate to the American Heart Association, or I will set up a donation spot for people if they want to. But you can donate directly to them, and they will really appreciate it. They also break down where the money goes, which I really like about them. They break down what they're buying with. We write them a check for anywhere from $3,500 to $5,000 every year. So we always get a breakdown of where that money was spent. And
Okay.
a lot of it's research based, but one year they bought a really cool device that they were able to send to a hospital for research, which is really cool that we made that kind of impact.
Cool.
But yeah, people can donate directly to it, or they can come to the tournament, or they can send me and then I'll pass it off. Whatever.
No doubt. Yeah. So I mean, shout to you for doing some good while also running a bowling event. I saw the roster for this weekend. It looks good. It looks strong. You got a lot of good bowlers coming out. A lot of good competition. This one's a little bit further away, right? It's in Oakwood at Oakwood Lanes. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's my childhood center.
Okay, so yeah, it's a little bit further away out in what, like Somerset County?
It's even north of that. It's like 45 minutes north of there.
Okay,
it's in Warren County, New
Warren
Jersey.
County. I've never even been to Warren County, New Jersey, son. That's how out there that is. But all right, so shout to you on that. Good luck with that this weekend. Then, like you said, you have the two events back to back next weekend in Turnersville. I hope to make it out to at least one of those, if not both. Let me ask you this. I just had Bill on. Obviously the big news in the bowling community over the last couple of weeks has been the lane debacle. At the USBC Queens pair, was totally outside the norm of what the other pairs were. Then it happened again at the Grand Rapids Classic. You heard a little bit of me and Bill talking about that and going over the issue. I guess what I would ask you is two questions. Number one, have you ever encountered an issue like this before in the tournaments that you've run? And, you're always putting out different patterns, stuff that you designed yourself. Like, has there ever been a situation where, you do the lanes and it's what you thought was going to be out there is not what's out there? And how did you deal with that?
So as a director, I haven't had that issue once, and I'm amazed I haven't.
That is amazing.
That
is amazing. How do you prevent that? I mean, do you go and make sure that the person is loading it into the machine correctly, or do you do it yourself? Like, tell me what steps you take. You're running an event at Turnersville next weekend. Tell me what steps you will take to make sure that what you want out on the lanes is going to be out on the lanes.
So I send them a pattern as far in advance as I can for confidentiality reasons, because I try to keep the information consistent across the board. But for the record, I don't care if it gets out. I just want everybody to have the same information. So when I get to the center, I usually do a walk, and I usually smear random lanes. So I'll take my finger and run them through. And pretty much what that does, it's the NCAA standard. What that pretty much does is, hey, there's oil on the lanes. It's across the entire lane. It was put out correctly by the machine. The other side of it is, does the oil line, because you can see it, does it look the same across the entire building? Did you walk it? None of these are foolproof, as we might have seen.
Right.
And I don't know what checks they did or didn't do, but because you only see what you see. Being at home, I didn't attend the event, but I watched on Bowl TV. But you try to do the best you can, right? And you check with the center. How long was the last time you replaced your brush? How is your machine? Can you put it out? What format do you need it in? Do you need a text file? Do you need it in Kazi different software? Do you have an older machine? Do you have to program in a certain way? What microliters can you use? I have a lot of questions for them before I even design the pattern. And I try to cater it to that machine. Now, Kegel sends a machine out, so they get to sort of help with that, which is nice. But I guess I'm dealing with the center's machine and their mechanic. So they have a machine that they've been using, for however long they've been using it. And Kegel might send a brand new machine that they made. Maybe they're sending it. Maybe that guy's using that machine for the first time. So, or whoever's oiling the lanes. So none of it's foolproof. There's always a chance to make mistakes. But I've actually had the situation come up as a bowler where they put out the half shot instead of the pattern. It was a junior gold. league of junior gold. Sorry, not the actual event. It was at Carolier. I was probably 15. And they put up the house shot. People figured it out as soon as they threw balls. They stopped practice. They gave everybody free game coupons. And they told us to wait while they put out the pattern.
All right, so hypothetically, you're running an event. They run the lanes, and let's say you walk the lanes and you suspect that there's an issue, right? I'm going to take it even a step further. Let's say you get your own stuff, because if you guys don't know, Greg is a very good bowler. He doesn't just run tournaments. He actually can play as well. He bowls regionals. I'm going to ask him in a minute about his experience bowling some national stuff earlier this year. So let's say you suspect there's something wrong. You go grab your own stuff. You throw some shots, and you see, all right, this is drastically different from what I expected to be out there. How would you personally handle that at one of your events?
So I'm gonna address both questions that you asked, because I think the second one's important. So the first question is, if I see it and I go and it's drastically different than what I expected. If I'm testing the pattern, I might change it. But if I think it will fare well with the field, I'll leave it out. My goal is to provide an event that's consistent and fair to the bowlers. So, whether or not there's information out there for everybody, I want everybody to have the same info going in. So I really don't think that I can tell that across a house if I'm testing a pattern until I put it out there. So that brings me to that situation. What happens if I check the lane and one of them's off? I will move people around, get them off that pair, and I would leave that pair out for an entire competition. Would be the first thing I would do if I could. If I had a full field, it would be a potential drawback. Where people would be on sevens, or I would try to re-oil that lane. But I would make sure I checked before I started. And then there's a lot of the sports stuff is definitely going to be under more scrutiny because of this, because people are going to say, oh, well, what if this happens to me? What if this happens at this event? And people are definitely going to be holding them to a higher standard.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, it's one thing if it happens in an event, local event, et cetera. I mean, a guy who works a full-time job is taking his time to run a sport bowling organization. Like, I think people have to be somewhat understanding in those situations, but yeah, in the case we're talking about, I mean, this was like major women's championship and a PWBA championship with a title on the line. So certainly a little bit different there, but okay. Let's talk, you bowled some of the tour events this year. You quote unquote went out on tour for a little bit. Now I know, because we bowl in some of the same stuff, and we talk a bit, that you're working full time. You have a full time job. You have a career that you're trying to relatively new at, and you are in a situation where you can kind of work remotely, from what I understand. So you decided that earlier this year you were going to take a few weeks and hit the road, and not only bowl some of the open events that you were able to easily get into, but also try and bowl some PTQs and qualify for some PBA stuff. Now, let me say this: like, around our area, I definitely don't think it's a stretch to say that Greg is I would say one of the better younger bowlers in our area, especially if you're talking about something challenging. And Greg is also a regional player who has a decent amount of experience bowling some regionals, has made some cuts, has even made some cuts in some larger regionals from what I'm aware of that you've traveled to go to. So, yeah, it wasn't like you're going out there as House Hack Harry trying to hack it on the PBA tour. Like, this is a kid who has some experience, has bowled a lot of events. He's won some decent stuff around here in the Northeast section of the country. So, with all that said, I'll throw it to you, and I'll let you give the people the rundown. Like, wherever you want to go with it. How was you? I mean, listen, I give you all the credit for being a good bowler, because I'm going to say it didn't go all that well for you, right? It didn't go all that well. So, like, go wherever you want with it. Talk about why. Talk about what you learned. Talk about, what you saw out there, and just kind of what your experience was like out there, because I think it could be interesting for our listeners to hear the perspective of somebody who's a good, somewhat accomplished local, professional amateur, if you will, right? Has a lot of knowledge of lane patterns and these things. And, you went out there and it was a tough experience. So wherever you want to go with it.
So I like you said, I didn't bowl that well. Leon Platt, my homie. I saw Bob also in the chat. What's up,
Bob's
guys?
in the chat.
How
What's
are
up,
you?
Bob?
Great
Leon
to see
Platt
you guys here.
Leon Platt in the chat saying that Greg travels up and down the East Coast. Always great to see him at the regionals in the South. Yes, that's part of what I was referring to there. But all right, go ahead.
So they're really good out there, those guys. But the reason they're good is because they see something and they make the decision really quickly. So the example I gave was I shot 190 with 7 or more strikes in several games at the World Series. I bowled 190 where I struck more than 50% of the time. And I would go strike, split, strike, another split, and then I'd be lined in. But meanwhile, the pros on my pair, and I bowled with Santu at the Scorpion Championship. He went 1 split and then had 11 in a row and shot 277 in the same game. So they have such a quick instinct, and some of them have ball reps, but there's only a handful of ball reps that really. So the bowler really has to be knowing what they're capable of and knowing what they. I felt like I was as prepared as I could have been to go out there, but when I got there, I realized I had a long way to go. I bowled.
Why? Like what? Give me one or two things that that either you didn't know you would have to be good at, that it turned out, I have to be good at that and I'm not, or a couple things, one or two things you thought you were good at and it turns out I'm not as good at that as I thought.
So I didn't realize how much oil it had out on the national tour and how good I had to be with slower speeds and with and how much surface I had to use to get the ball to slow down. I had to get really creative.
That's why, can I say, like, that's why Kevin McCune and like what he's done out there at the end of the season has really, it boggled my mind, because I feel the same way about it that you do when I bowl on some of that tougher stuff. Like, I just want to slow down. I just want to slow down and just roll it and slow down. And this dude is just out there like, nah, I'm going to go get after it as much as I can on every single shot. And he still finds a way to make it work, which kind of goes against a lot of my thinking in terms of bowling on stuff like that. But go ahead, continue, please.
So there's I got to shout out Bowl U and Alan Levitt and Brad Angelo and Rick Benoit, because they have shared that it's not always playing hopscotch. It's not always getting left and hitting it harder as much as people think it is, because people like Kevin McCune can go out and still do it. Norm Duke was so successful on the tour for a while. It's just select stops that, sometimes those things are an advantage. Sometimes they're not. Even the Master Show this year, you could play a little bit of a straighter angle. But the thing that I thought I was good at and ended up not being was knowing what I was actually good at. I didn't know what I was good at. I thought I knew. When I've been home, I bowled that league that you did last night, and I've started using ball speed again. Kevin McCune might have 100 more revs than I do, but I can throw it as hard as he does. And he, hits it really hard. And I need to figure out a way to use what I have out on that level, because I'm probably not going to out-rev Belmo. I'm probably not going to outloft Belmo, but I still want to bowl well. There must be another way.
Well, there is. I mean, your game, if I had to compare it to anyone on tour, like if I had to pick someone on tour and say, all right, this is sort of who Greg throws it like somewhat, and this is how I would expect him to play them. I would probably say like a Thomas Larson. That would probably be my comparison. Where like you got a little rev rate for sure, but and you can have the speed, but it's a softer rev rate, if you will. Like I feel like you have a softer hand at the bottom. St. Thomas Larson kind of has that softer hand where you never really see him yamming on it like a McCune or a Tackett. But he's got the rev rate, he's rolling it there. So it's interesting to hear you say that. I have to say that I'm not surprised to hear you say that. I'm not surprised that was one of your thoughts. So give us the highlights. Were there any highlights for you out there? Or?
So the biggest highlight was the World Series PTQ. I bowled really well in that PTQ. I love this story, so I'm going to tell it to everybody. So it's the second squad. I'm probably 40 out of the number after Viper, but I thought I bowled phenomenal on Viper. I had a situation at the end which caused me to bowl bad, and I didn't respond the greatest, but I was proud of how I stuck it out on Viper. And then we get to Dragon, and Dragon is notoriously an easier pattern that I've seen, but when we bowled on it, it was not easy at all. And I recognized that right away. Not everybody did. So I bowled on Dragon, and and that building hooks so much, that Wauwatosa hooks out of the building. So much friction there. So guys saw friction and went left, as you might expect the guys on tour to do. The problem was it didn't develop, and they were kind of flat inside, and it's a PTQ. No offense, the bowlers aren't as good. So they get left, and when they are missing in, they think, oh, there's more friction, and I'm going to even go more left of that. So guys in game 5, they went left. Then the scorers on the screens, they went away. And I didn't know how many people score watched, but everybody making those rabbit holes, they're all score watching, and they're all wondering what they have to do.
Okay.
I saw the pace, and I saw the pace being really, really low. So I went 45 over for 2 in Dragon. I thought I threw the ball phenomenally. I shot 231 and 214 and just absolutely ace shots. Realizing I'm 105 over, I'm now 30 over the cut. I'm realizing now that the scores are only going to go down, so I just need to keep the ball in play and just make this cut. It doesn't matter if I lead. It doesn't matter if I'm 37th. As long as I make it, I get to bowl next week. I do that. Best thing. I bowled 60 games. It was the best experience of my life. I recommend it to everyone. What I was proud of was that I went in that day with an attitude of, well, I'm going to bowl my 10 games. I'm going to have a good experience, and I'm going to go home, and I'm going to write down what I learned and go practice a lot. And what I was proud of was I made it. I made the PTQ cut, and it might not seem like a big deal. It was almost 40% of the field that made it, but 91 of the best amateurs, best pros that haven't won yet in the country, and they're all there. They're all trying to do the same thing.
Sure, and everybody wants it, especially for that one, because getting into that meant you got to bowl the whole week. It's not like one of the other PTQs where you're getting in for one event. You're getting in for 4 events. So, all right, no doubt, man. No doubt. Here's what I'll get you out of here on, because we're running out of time here. We're already in overtime for the people. Here's what I'll get you out of here on. How dope is the training center?
Oh my gosh!
Place. How Rev Rates Training Center, Parker Bones Place. How lucky are we to live within a reasonable driving distance of that facility? Tell people.
It's worth it all the time. That is so I'm looking at my training logs, and I keep track of all the practices that I do. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how do I measure some of this progress without having all the tools in front of me? And so I've tried to get creative, but why do you have to? And there's a training center right there. I used to go to Kegel. I was you might call me a Kegel kid. I was at Kegel a lot as a kid, learning how to bowl using their tools. It was really, really fun. I was an intern at Kegel for a summer.
The one in Florida you're referring to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but that's a plane flight away. If I wanted to train, I would usually just go to my home center, or I would go to Carolier. Shout out to Debbie Stein. But this is a really cool opportunity. And I think there's a phenomenal market out there. I'm surprised nobody's done it in the East. where, sport bowling is obviously on the rise. There's so much bowling going on in New Jersey. There's 10,000 plus members in the state, at least. There's more bowlers. It's a concentrated area. League bowling is growing in our state, not shrinking. So I think that we're going to see more of those training centers come. I would certainly hope so, especially with the renovations going on.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, especially with Bolero kind of being the leader in the industry, like the main, one of the main owners in the industry, I definitely feel like we're going towards more of a, or I'll say less of a training facility type environment. But yeah, I mean, it's beautiful though, and I feel fortunate to be within a reasonable driving distance. Kevin Fadley in the chat saying he's heading there July 1st for training, coming in from Virginia. Awesome, Kev. Shoot us an email, man. Shoot us an email. Maybe I'll try and make it down that day. Love to buy you a drink if you want while you're down there, if you're a fan of Sweep the Rack. But yeah, listen, you go to the training center on a random Saturday, Sunday morning, you might catch both of us there. There's been days where I walk in at 9 a.m. and who's pulling into the parking lot but Greg unloading his stuff, getting ready for a practice session. So yeah, there's definitely days that that we're both there, both getting the work in, both doing our thing. But yeah, just can't stress enough if you haven't been there and you're within driving distance, definitely make it a to-do on your bowling list for sure, because it's well worth your time to take a trip there.
Look at this nice guy, Kevin. He's gonna buy you lunch.
Nah, I buy him lunch. But no. I'm buying him lunch, son. Okay? No, it's on us. It's on us. Okay? You can go and buy your T-shirt. Go buy your T-shirt, Kev. And I'll take care of the lunch.
They look really nice.
Thanks. Yeah, you definitely got to get a T-shirt, no doubt. Maybe we can give some away at some future events. Maybe if I'm at the Friction or Frictionless Marathon, we can give some away. I don't know though. I don't know if I could give it away at a tournament in New Jersey, because there's a lot of people that beef with me in New Jersey. So if the wrong people get a hold of it, they might they might burn it or use it to build an effigy of me and burn the mannequin. So yeah, I don't know. We'll have to talk about that though. But listen, Greg, always nice to have you on, bro. Always nice to chop it up. Love to hear your thoughts. I know you're a very thoughtful person in the bowling community. You're always thinking about things. You're always trying to push things forward. I know that we think very alike in terms of where the game needs to go and what's good for the game, etc. And yeah, definitely. Bob says he's gonna get the Patch Pirate shirt and put his patch on it. All right, that's fine. But to be clear, those that challenge themselves, I don't consider Patch Pirates, Bob. So if you show up at Greg's event and you're at like every one that I'm at, not a Patch Pirate to me. You're out there doing your thing and challenging yourself. So I give you credit for that. But
I'll buy some free entries for some Patch Pirates. I'll absolutely back some people who are.
Man, come on. They avoid your events like the plague, bro. They avoid your events like the plague. Seriously. I mean, listen, like, if we had more time, I wanted to ask you to give us a league review of last night, but I'll bring you back on before the summer's over and we can talk about our experience in our league. But Greg, as well as I do that there are numerous 230 plus, 240 plus even average bowlers at Majestic. Okay. And like, listen, you're bowling the same league I am. And honestly, the vast majority of people in that league, I do not recognize from really anywhere around the local community, except if I knew them from bowling high school because they're younger and they want to get out there and challenge themselves, which I give them a ton of credit for. If it wasn't for these younger people, sport bowling would be on its deathbed. But yeah, the younger people definitely have that willingness to challenge. They definitely want to take that challenge on. It's nice to see. So it's just interesting to me. And listen, I'm not I'm not calling people out. Everybody in the Jersey community is going to get all upset. But I'm just saying, like, where are all the people in that house that whacked them all the time to take on a little bit more of a challenge? I'm
gonna shameless plug myself.
You go right ahead, son.
Talking about bowling leadership, and they're talking about, what would you do? I am toying with the idea now of a board of directors run.
Okay.
I am seriously considering it. It's
for USBC.
For USBC, it's been on my mind for a while, and I'm very heavily considering it. And I would really like to make a difference of the impact of the sport. I would really like to make a difference of the sport.
Don't let Chad know that you're friends with us, because
I like Chad. Chad
ain't gonna get you nowhere.
Every time I've interacted with Chad, it's been pleasant. He's a nice guy to me.
Yeah, but I mean, there's some issues there. We'll talk off the air about that a little bit more. Maybe, it's funny. I want to direct you to Jeff Rickles' website. He recently published an article about what would need to happen for there to be a new executive director of the USBC.
An 11-10 vote that said, we don't want to resign you. Happy retirement.
So I mean, it's interesting to hear you say that. It's like, it's strange how things happen sometimes. But listen, I would support that wholeheartedly, man. There's not a lot of people out there in the bowling community, and I know a lot of people, but there's not a lot of people that I've met in my experiences that that talk the talk and walk the walk as much as you do in terms of your views on the bowling community, but also in terms of, again, like walking the walk and creating things that appeal to the people that share the same perspective that you do. So I give you a lot of credit for that. It was nice to see you out there bowling on tour. I bet on you. I bet on you. All right.
That was so nice of you. If I had won that, you would be a lot richer.
I hear you. I was hoping you were going to make a run, but it's okay. It's not a big deal. Next time we'll when you make that run, believe me, I will have some change on you. So duly noted. But Greg, again, thank you for joining me. Thanks for the time, and we'll have you back on soon enough. Good luck with the events you got coming up,
guys. Thanks so much. Thanks everybody.
All right, folks, I'm wrapping it up. We went into super overtime tonight. Even though Rob's not here with me, I'm going to give a final thought. And somebody mentioned this in the chat earlier. I didn't catch who it was, but shout to the person that mentioned this. The king of the patch pirates, Louis Napolis, was on Beef and Barnesy today. And I got word that I came up and that he somewhat called me out or challenged me or said, let's get it or something. I'm going to go back tomorrow and I'm going to watch that. But, king of the patch pirates, be careful, bro. Okay? I'm out here. I'm out here bowling on this stuff. Okay? There ain't no house shot ball reviews over here, bro. All right. So, I'm in your comments saying let's see some sports shop ball reviews. So I'll leave it at that. Okay. Robert Hamilton. That was a great mystery guest appearance tonight. I appreciate it, man. I'm glad. I hope you guys enjoyed. I did my best with Rob not here. I think we had some interesting subject matter. Sorry, there's no worst of the week. I'm not gonna do that without Rob. Gary West is here for Big Mike's versus the Patch Pirates. I know. I'm glad you guys appreciate the drama. I love it. What can I say? I don't attract the drama. I'm just giving my honest opinions, and if the drama comes, then it comes. So be it. But guys, listen, have a great week. All right, get your shirts, Etsy, hit us up. Sweep the Rack Gear is in the building. Get your rosin bags as well. Hit us up on Gmail, sweeptherack@gmail. Follow us on social media. I'm at the 215. Rob is at BrooklynRob11. Follow the PWBA tour. They're still continuing. Checking out the action there, enjoying the action there. I'm sure when Rob comes back, we'll have a little PWBA tour review and breakdown. But listen, have a good week. If you're bowling this weekend, good luck. And don't hesitate to reach out. All right. Check you all next week.